All right, the race here today is coming from the Hungaroring. We'll skip the reconnaissance lap and go ahead and get right to the race. We're starting third. Some talent at the front of the field here. Get a good launch off the line. And then just try not to overshoot it going into turn one, taking it a little easy until we can get to the exit. So let's back that up. So you might wonder how I'm able to get that kind of launch off the line. Um, so it's kind of hard to see, but over here we have a blue line here. So we have gas, brake, and clutch. And so if you watch carefully when we go for the start, I'll do it at half speed. Um, so we're revving the engine. Let's see where we're going to go. Right now, we got like 40-ish% clutch there. Um, right here at this moment. We got, I don't want to say the exact percentage, but I have dialed in a percentage of clutch to use on the hand clutch. And so I use that percentage right when the green light comes on. I have the engine close to fully revved. Sometimes I use full, depending on how hot the track is or how much grip I feel the thing has. I come close to full RPMs, and then use that clutch. And so what that gives us is a great launch often if we get it right and don't release both clutches too early. There's two separate handheld clutches on the wheel that we're using. So if we go like chase view, not to belabor this too much here, um, but watch the car in front. You can see wheel spin right there in smoke, and we had basically almost no wheel spin, and so that adds up to getting going forward and not wasting time on the wheel spin. There's much time. This can also kind of get you in trouble because you're coming with a full head of steam. Other cars might not be expecting it, or it may kind of put you in the middle of other situations. Like if you started seventh and did that, now you're might smack dab in the middle of like a lot of cars running for third, or that sort of thing. So it still requires some heads up driving there, but it's easier the closer you are to the front. It's easier when you're farther back to make up a lot of ground. It just can get a little hairy if the field starts getting bunched up. It looks like Kevin went off the track back there a little bit. Um, let's find a good, decent camera angle here. Stick with this one for a bit. Um, so this number one car behind us, the blue car, he qualified on the pole, and try to use this camera view and stick with this one for a while. Um, I think about a second a lap faster than us, maybe 8/10 of a second, somewhere in that range. He was definitely in the 159 something, and I was at like 2 minute 0.138, somewhere around there. Um, so I feel like he's definitely quicker. I'm probably holding him up a little bit. Uh, I'm not trying to block or anything. I'm just not gonna hand it to him. Went wide there, missed the apex by quite a bit. That allowed him to close up a bit. So he gets a run going down the front straight. And so I kind of lift off a little bit early in braking, did a little braking a little bit earlier to just tuck inside and try to get a better exit. Um, Not that I really thought I would get by him necessarily, but just a challenge for fun. And now he has a preferred line going through here. I got to lift a little more. But right here, I would have been in the same spot if I hadn't tried to that move in turn one of uh, basically kind of late apexing the turn one. I would have ended up in the same spot anyway, so nothing lost. Definitely sailed it in there under braking uh, a lot more than he did, which is interesting because we got about. You can't really use the car link so much because under braking we're going to close up, but uh, maybe if we go on board and we'll look at chase view here, or maybe cockpit view is probably easier way to see it. Um, we close up a lot, kind of lock up a little bit, drift out wide. He keeps a tighter line to the inside, and then he still has about the same line on same distance to us on exit. Um, so maybe a better way to see that is let's look at Peter, who's running behind us here. Um, so back it up a little bit. He gets a little bit, gain a little bit of ground here, and then I slide out right there, and he doesn't. He stays to the inside, and now he just made up like 2 car lengths on me. So missing that apex and sliding there uh, cost me quite a bit, but it's only apparent when you look at the time Peter got through here, because the gap from me in second to the leader still looks about the same. But let's go ahead and switch back to this other angle. Can't decide if camera 1 or camera 3 is better. They're kind of similar in many places, but this turn coming out of the straightaway right there is kind of tough. When to get on the throttle, how smoothly. It's another one of those 180-degree turns that's kind of slowish, medium speed. Not completely slow, but you see the leader's pulling out a bit of a gap to us here now. Starting to pull away. And the number 2 car behind us is looking for an opportunity. We've taken more inside curb there than I had been previously. Trying to work on that a little bit of coming over this curb. You see how much curb he's on, and then as we come through here, trying to take up a little bit more, use a little bit more of that curb, and still use a decent amount. You can see Peter does this kind of a bit better here. Where he misses the first one a little bit, he could have taken more, but then he takes a good amount of the second curb here, coming right here, his line. He's just clipping this orange, kind of hopping over this orange thing, where we're kind of half a car length or so, 2 or 3 feet slightly wider there. Ideally, you want to take a lot of the first curb and a good amount of the second one, just like Peter did there. Basically, straighten out those 2 turns as much as possible. Less of an S, more of a, I don't know, something slightly straighter than an S. You can see it's all pretty tight here at the front. The leader's pulling out ever so much on us. I'm probably slowing Peter down a tiny bit here. He's getting a good draft here, going down the front straight. He ducks to the inside. And he's got the move done. So what that tells us is we're not getting through the turn onto the front straightaway very well. 2 cars have passed us. going into turn one. So they were able to stay close coming through that turn onto the front straightaway. And maybe that was enough, staying close on a long straightaway and getting the draft all the way down the straightaway. Um, but then we were able to get back by Peter there. Let's look at that a little more closely. I was kind of talking over it. So Peter gets by us, and so then he stays. So when we come out of here, it's sort of the same thing. Of I saw him come in, kind of let him through, didn't fight it, and then try to do the crossover move on the exit of late apexing. So you could see how far he's like early apexing. He's closer to the apex earlier in the turn. I am way wide of the apex here, but as we roll it through, now I'm closer to the apex now. So I apex the turn right about here somewhere. Is the closest point I got to the inside of the turn. That's where I apexed it. Um, and so he like took kind of an early apex because he's making the pass and uh, trying to be safe and give room there. And then yeah, we kind of ended up coming out sort of the same line because we're on the throttle hard. But he decides he's going to line up for defensive line coming into that next turn, and I go for the racing line. So I'm more normal racing line. So now he has. This is usually where you want to be, kind of out here near this red and white, and you start coming away from the red and white, right about where I am. If we back it up a tiny bit, we'll see. Oops, wrong way here. No, wrong direction. Sorry. Okay. Paulo here. He's turning in from way outside by this curb here, and so that's the line we're on. But Peter's on the defensive line. Oops. Okay. Let's roll it forward. So now I can't turn all the way to the apex because he's there. So I got to take a wider entry, give him room, enough room for his car and some safety margin. I don't want to squeeze him because then, any mistake or, panic by him on that, and we're going to touch. Uh, so he has to get on the throttle later, and he's a little more cautious going through there with me on the outside of him, not maybe sure quite what I'm doing or if I'm going to chop down on him or what was going on. And so uh, able to get that pass done, and then he crosses right back over on exit, and now he's on the racing line, and now I'm on defensive line. So normally you're way out here on these curbs, like you got your right side tires up on these curbs. You kind of miss the first part of it, and then you try to like turn into it to get your right side tires up there. Um, I'm definitely not doing that. I'm like on this inside line here, uh, trying to sort of challenge for it, but now they're compromised because they can't come all the way on top of this inside curb, and I'm compromised because I didn't have a wide entry and can't make a wide exit. So I got to go kind of much slower through here and give them room. And that happens. So let's look at this. Let's look at it from, oops. All right, let's just focus on Mike here for a minute. So he's coming through, and I sort of slide in front of him a little bit. He has to kind of lift for it, and then comes right back and sort of drives through us is what it looks like to me. So what do we see if we go in cockpit view? So this is cockpit view on board with Mike. Two cars in front side by side. Ooh, I better take it easy. Ooh. So um, roll this a little bit slower. I start getting on the brakes. He's still on the gas or hasn't got on the brake yet. Maybe he lifted but didn't quite get on the brake and runs smack in the middle of us. So he's like car number, I don't know, 4. So he has a higher rating than us. Um, why does this happen? So I think there's two things here going on. Um, I think some people get angry when they have to lift or they feel like they already lifted for you or that sort of thing. So I think this maybe got a little bit hot there of, I don't know, some car came into him or pushed him wide or whatever. Not sure. I'm not a good mind reader. Uh, and then here he might have been focusing on my car because you notice he doesn't turn. He doesn't turn. He's still, there's a right turn coming up and he hasn't turned. He hasn't started turning. He might even not have gone on the brake yet. Now he's starting to turn. Runs right in the back of it. So I think he might have been fixating on the back of my car. And when you fixate on something, you often run into it. And so uh, I think that might have been what happened. So anyway, let's look at it one more time from this angle. So just look at the distance from me to Peter in front of me. Roll this forward. You can see Mike in the mirror here. The distance from me to him. Now we're going to approach braking here. Peter gets on the brake. I get on the brake. I didn't really get closer to Peter there, so maybe I got on the brake slightly early or slightly too hard. I think regardless, we still would have got run over massively. Um, that was not going to be avoided by uh, half a meter or 1 meter difference in braking point. Um, so anyway, no conversation about that. Oh, it might be interesting too, just to belabor this a bit more. Who is this? Antonio. So let's see what Antonio's view was. So he's behind this whole thing. I don't know. Just look kind of violent there. Um, but I'm not objective on that one. All right, let's go ahead and roll forward from here. Camera 3. So we get going again. Pull back on the track. Kevin Adrian there slides by in car number 5. Um, so now, I don't know, we lost a few spots. Maybe 3, something like that. I think at this point, car numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 might be running in positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that I think about it. Oh, you can tell I wiggled a bit on entry there. Slow this way down so we can see it. We get to right about here, a little bit ahead. You see the car wiggle. Oh, I got a tire off, and the left rear tire's on the grass. A little bit of dust got kicked up, and that caused it to step out a little bit. I was super close to losing it. You can't. It doesn't look like anything from this angle. Let me go to cockpit view real quick. Slow this way down. Watch the hands, and you can look at the throttle trace and the brake. Like that was a moment right there. All right, so now we're on lap 5. We're in 6th position. Kevin in front of me, he's pretty good. We're usually really close, really competitive. He drives really clean. I think we've done a couple laps side by side at different tracks. Definitely somebody you can race around, race next to. change lines. But he's also good and quick, pretty much everywhere. I think you might still be getting up to speed on this track, though. This is the new track to the service. And he loses it right in front of us. So, sorry to see that for him, but you can see how close that was. Like, we barely got around that, scraped right by there. Didn't touch, bit around ever so close. And so, this is probably my favorite moment of the race. I feel bad for him, but I avoided this, like from really close on, avoided this. Braking, turning in a difficult turn, car in front slides. We avoid them, don't overreact, get by. Uh, it's definitely a bit of luck. I should have left a little more room. I could have. I could have run a little wider here. Um, but I just thought, I think I can squeak by. Uh, and it worked. Um, let's look at the cockpit view of this, of how quick these things happen. So, uh, you got to react pretty quickly. And then the other thing I noticed that was kind of funny is how quickly I got back on the throttle. We haven't even got by him yet, and I was already back on the throttle. Um, the other thing I wanted to point out was, so we're right there on top of him, and we're able to avoid it. Cars behind us somehow didn't, which I was kind of surprised by. It's a good angle for these guys. Maybe this view. Okay, we'll do this in slow-mo. So these are cars a bit back. Oh, the 10 car lost it first. Just, I don't know, saw these guys losing it. And then, I don't know, 12 car just plows right into them. So I think what happened here is maybe the 12 car started slowing up a little bit early, and that spooked this guy under braking, or he's looking ahead and saw us. But let's see what we see from their viewpoints, just for shits and giggles here. Half speed. This car's up there spinning. I don't know where he thought he was going to go. Somebody thought the car was going to disappear by the time he got there, or he was going to turn in front of him. All right, let's. What happened with this guy? Nah, he just simultaneously lost it all on his own. It was just coincidence, I think. All right. TV mixed. Let's go to this. Let it handle changing cameras for us. So let's see where we are as we cross the finish line this time. So who's in front of us here? Mike Garins is in front of us, the one who punted us in turn 4. In front of him is Antonio, car number 3, car number 2. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And that was pretty much the race. Everything stayed in that order up front, the top 5, whatever. Didn't really change there. Let's go ahead and look at the lap times just for have something to do here. 12 lap race. Our fastest lap was lap 3. Did a 1:59.5. I think that was in drafting when we were around Peter, drafting behind Peter. He was drafting us or something. Um, Maybe 3 cars in a row. I was in the middle car or something. And then we got hit on lap 4. That was a 209 lap. So the rest of the laps are 201, 200, pretty much all 200. We had 2 laps that are 201. So we've definitely gotten a little bit faster. Um, Picked up, I don't know, 3 or 4 tenths probably from the last race. Just watching some lap guides and thinking about where we could improve. And so that's it. Thanks for watching.